All right. I wanted to run through the business funding strategy checklist and just bring some things to light. I've spent a lot of time talking to small business owners about the content in this presentation, and it's been refined and it's been reworked, and I think I've got it to where it needs to be, to where you can walk into a bank confidently and know you're going to get what you're looking for, or at least feel a little bit better about getting dinged along the way. But this business funding strategy checklist is the 25 items that start to matter most to lenders and grant writers and even folks in private equity that are looking to extend capital to you. But we're going to concentrate most on banks for this conversation. But this is, I think, the checklist that you want to lean into if you're going in for funding. So, Al Nolan, principal advisor at Overlap Capital. I have a background in technology. Primarily, I went into financial services about a year and a half ago, but over the last 10 years, I've been helping any number of startups simply do a better job of preparing their financials, preparing net present value, preparing EBITDA conversations, looking at their numbers and putting them in the best position to go after funding themselves. So, in a way, I've been a business funding financial services advisor for almost 10 years. But moonlighting as a technical consultant for one of the largest advertising and marketing and communication agencies in the nation. I'm a contributing advisor and board member at BH365 Foundation here in DFW. Participated in Founder Gym, great experience there in capital raising. And also Impact Ventures, was a regular contributor for Impact Ventures for a while. And best stat on this page is I'm also a girl dad. So carry that one with a lot of pride. So we talk about capital quite a bit. I hear more than a little bit of small businesses saying, "Well, look, I've got the cash for it. Why don't I just buy it outright? Why don't I just pay cash for the thing? Why do I need anyone else involved with my business?" I always say money makes money faster than people can, and the reason I do it that way and have that conversation, I'm glad Atitikupo had this quote, is when you can deploy capital in all ways that you have it available, it puts you on firm footing to do some of the things at a faster pace that you'd be able to do if you worked for the money outright. If you earn $100,000, it would take you longer to do that than it would to borrow $100,000. Now, this is a responsibility conversation as well. Now, don't you go borrowing money you can't pay back. If the intent is to borrow money to service a debt and you're going to make 5%, 10% on that money, and you can borrow it at 0%, well, now all of a sudden you've got an asset in that business. Even though it's debt, you can purchase an asset. You can purchase something that's cash flowing. You can purchase something that has value and you can get a return for it. Borrowing is a really, really fast and efficient way to produce new money to go out, deploy, and do some really interesting things with. So I'll put these two numbers up here for a reason. So $25,000 to $75,000 starts to be our range for what we get capital for our clients. That's kind of the sweet spot. I've also noticed that's the ask of a lot of small businesses. They're kind of looking for 30,000, 60,000. So that's kind of the range as well. So I think our approach, and even these 25 items that we're going to talk about, kind of puts you square in the middle of this piece here, of this range. So if you're looking for more than that, even $76,000, business credit cards might not be your best approach. And this is kind of what we're going to zero in today. We've got other products that can go there, term loans, there's lines of credit, but we're going to talk about the syndicated lines of credit in this conversation and what these cards would look like along a path. Um, and what you see here is us combining cards together to get to a small business's goal. So you might see a 14, an 8, a 17, all of those might roll up to a business's $40,000 capital raise. So these are some of the banks that we've worked with. We've gotten credit for a number of clients through these banks. So this is what we do with the syndicated line of credit. We pair together different products from different banks. You walk out of there with the credit that you're looking for, and you end up with three relationships with banks, or two, or three, or five. All right. The syndicated line of credit. You might hear online a term called business credit card stacking. I think it's gotten a negative connotation for the reasons that we talked about a second ago. Grabbing three or four cards seems sometimes to be a little bit daunting, maybe overwhelming. But who we walk through this process, we get you a chart of accounts. We get you into QuickBooks. We get all of those cards auto assigned inside of QuickBooks. We can track all the transactions that are happening on each one of those cards. We can assign the higher reward card to where we're going to have the most spend, and that way you're getting the most rewards against that card. We're going to use a Truist money market account at Truist to save some of that money, and that way, if you do end up having to pay a tax bill at the end of the year, you can pay it with a Truist credit card, pay it off with the Truist balance. You've earned a little cash on top of that, kind of cancels a little bit of that out. But we've got strategies to get through this syndicated line of credit thinking, and definitely reach out to talk a little bit more about that. Our goal is to get you 0% cards. So we have relationships with a number of banks. We've got a list of banks. Bank of America has a 9-month card. Chase has a 9-month card. There's others that have 18-month 0% interest cards. This is amazing for businesses that want to do some interesting thing, equipment financing or equipment acquisition, maybe even some payroll float. Put those things on credit cards and do it responsibly. We want to service the debt, obviously, but these are some of the options that we have for those zero interest cards. Now, personal guarantor is typically required, so we're going to ask that your credit be in a certain state. We're going to get to that in a second. And in most cases, except for Chase under distress, except for Discover, and except for Capital One, they're going to be hidden from your personal credit report. These are going to be the responsibility of your business. It'll be on your business's credit report, even though you have to personally guarantee it. Love this number. It was a very good year, too. The year I was born, 1981. But this is the number of applications that are denied. That's the failure rate on those applications. And it's usually because of a handful of things, not 25 things you got wrong. It's usually one or two, five even. Once you get those things wrong, banks start to file you in a category of high risk, low tolerant um, types of businesses that they don't really want to deal with. So there's a few ways you can get those automatic denials. Most lenders use what's called Elan Financial. They help with the credit card issuer to give you an interface to apply for a loan or to apply for lending. In doing so, you're going to add income, right? They're going to ask you for stated income. They're going to ask you your addresses. They're going to ask you um, the name of your business. Do you have a DBA? Those types of things. Seems pretty simple, right? If you're looking at several different places and just through a sleight of hand, you put $81,000 on the income for one application and then 82 on another, and then you're in a hurry, so you put 100,000 on another application. Elon Financial is the platform underneath all of them. So now all of a sudden it looks like you're putting different numbers in. And even though it's three different banks you applied for credit at, the underlying platform is Elon Financial. We're going to help you not make those mistakes. We want to be consistent with our messages to these banks. They're our partners. Let's get consistent. There's a way to go about that. We're going to tell the truth on these applications. If it's intended or expected income, we're going to state that. If it's current income, we're going to state that. We're going to do our best to get the banks the information that they need. We're going to do it consistently. So we're going to read the fine print. We're going to get it right. Most use Experian Business, Equifax Business, and Small Business Financial Exchange. So once we get it right for Experian Business, you're pretty much going to get it right for the rest. And again, we're going after small business financing only. I think personal financial advisors should be informing on personal credit cards. My job here as a business funding strategy checklist is to take you through what business funding would look like. Yes, you can get personal cards, but you're going to pay a price for those cards. You spend 30%, 50% utilization on those cards. You're going to pay a price in your FICO score. Your utilization is going to go up. Your credit score is going to go down. In business credit, that does not seem to be the case. If you can service those cards in the way that they've been agreed, you're going to get full faith and credit from that business. You're going to get a positive mark. And even if you're at 80% utilization on a card, you're not going to suffer as much. And that utilization isn't shown as much on business credit cards. So let's dig in and look at how to get you into some business credit cards. How do we prevent automated denials? Um, it's making sure that of the items that banks are typically looking for, that we're firing on all cylinders. Let's take a quick example. Now, it could be that a bank is looking for 25 items, and you've got 21 of them. You got most of them filled out, but these four, you might think, well, they're not a big deal. It's just four. I got 21 right. Well, the banks are actually, look, 25, sorry, or 20. The banks are actually looking for each one of those to be there. And this bank might be looking for all 25. This other bank might be looking for 20. This other bank might be looking for 15. You don't always know which one of those are unless you're working with a partner. We want to get here where we're getting all 25 right. Now, this isn't rocket science. It's a very specific list. And let's dig in. Based on our research, these are the 25 areas that banks are looking at to get you business credit extended. Now we're going to work our way from the top left all the way to the bottom right. Now those top lefts are in a darker color because they are more dense, more valuable. They are core to your application. You got to get those things right. And as you work your way over to the edge, the banks start to offer a little bit more leniency. Maybe you don't have acquired revolving business credit already. Maybe you don't have a diversity of deposits just yet because you just started. They're going to lean a little bit less on those standards. Maybe you don't have a visual merchant partnership. Those things start to become extra credit as you work your way over to the bottom right. Top left, you gotta have them and you gotta have them right because you're gonna have conversations with these banks. They're gonna be looking for these things. We want those answers to be accurate. So let's get started. First on the list was strong personal credit. This is what profile needs to look like. You're going to be a personal guarantor for your business. We want those personal scores and personal reports to feel like this: 720 on the FICO. No derogatories in the last 24 months. You got 25 months, you got a derogatory that may be okay. You can talk through those things. But in the last 2 years, it's a no-no. And it's a no-no because they look outward about 2 years to plan what your capacity to borrow looks like. So if they're going to look out 2 years, they want to look back 2 years to make sure that you have no late payments, no charge-offs, no collections, and that sort of thing. We want to make sure that you don't have a bunch of inquiries. We don't like when people are looking for credit. It looks like you're thirsty. It looks like you're trying to live off credit as opposed to supplement the business off credit or supplement your lifestyle off credit. We don't want to create a dependency because if something happens, the banks are fearful that they're not going to get their dollars back. We want to make sure that there's at least two personal active revolving credit sources, two personal credit cards. Now, I did not put all of the parameters there, but if those cards are right around $10,000 limits each, you're going to be in good shape. If they're $5,000, you're probably going to be in decent shape too. But let's see what we can do to increase those limits a little bit. And if you can do it without incurring an inquiry, please do. And then let's make sure that we've got our utilization under 30%. That's really where we want to be. As long as we're under 30, we're going to be in good shape. We don't look like a over leveraged risk, but under 9%, in those cases, you're going to look real good to a bank. Looks like you don't leverage at all. Like you don't have to leverage the credit that's been extended to you. They like seeing that as well. Next on the list is a clear product offering. I want you to be able to spout off very quickly what it is that you do, what problem you're trying to solve in the marketplace. Overlap Capital gets small businesses $10,000, $100,000, or even $1 million in funding within a week. That's what we do, right? That's our goal. When you can solve a problem and be succinct about it, banks, they kind of fall in love with that. That's going to show up in your marketing. It's going to show up in the way you do business. And they want to clearly know who it is that they're dealing with. And you can give them that relatively easily once you submit a financial profile to them. A defined business industry. Now, very often you're sitting in the bank, you're getting a new account, you're getting, you're filling out all your information for the bank. They say, well, what is it that you're going to be doing? And you start just blurting out, I'll be doing real estate. I'm setting up a trucking company. I'm setting up a capital company. Oh, well, they're going to hit a little drop down, and it's going to have in it all of the high risk businesses that they don't like lending to, and all of the lower risk businesses that they don't mind lending to. And if they generalize you and put you in a high risk business, you stand to get an automatic denial, which is the very thing that we don't want. So that's when we want to come in and say to them, no, 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 this is the industry that we want to be in. In fact, I want to give you a North American industry code. I'm going to give you 541612. That's a HR consulting, or 541613, which is a marketing consulting company. But we're going to hand you that next code. No guessing. We're going to give you the one that we want you to have. Up next is a well-formed entity. Now, this is something that we got to get right. We have to have a well-formed entity. That means you're in good standing with the state that you're in. This is Texas. You've got the right members. Those members are available to sign paperwork. That you have a registered agent. Doesn't always have to be you or your aunt. Let's get some real registered agents so they can let us know of new standards throughout the year. There's the beneficial ownership information that started to come through. Your aunt's not looking for that, right? You're not even looking for that. You're running your business. A registered agent's obligation is to make sure you're up to date on those types of things. Um, a registered agent is making sure that you're filling out your franchise tax here in Texas. They're making sure of those things, and they're doing them on your behalf in a lot of cases. So they're providing a very valuable service in that regard. We do some of that registered work. We have an office. We're available during business hours. So when there's a legal interest, they can drop that interest off to the registered agent, which would be us in some instances, and we will make sure that that gets to you, that you're communicated to as soon as those things happen. As soon as that mail's available, we'll make sure that you get it. And any registered agent service is going to be thinking about those things too. Our registered entity is top on this list here. It doesn't have to be an LLC. It could be a corporation. Um, it could be a nonprofit. It could be a non-stock corporation. It could be any of those entities, depending on the state that you're in, but it's registered. And you have that designation with the state. That is invaluable to have. I also want to see an operating agreement. We'll talk a little bit about that later, so I'll leave that for that. And then sometimes we're going to be looking for time in business of about 2 years. That's also valuable as well. And they're going to look on the website. The banks are going to look on a open corporates, or they're going to look on the Secretary of State website and see if you're in good standing. Well, a lot of times, if you have a good standing document, that helps helps get things along a little bit. But they're going to be looking for those things. And if they are not in order, it's a very easy decision that they have to make to get rid of your application. Now, there's going to be two of these, and we'll talk about them in a second. Listed on industry directories. Being listed on industry directories essentially means if you're in real estate, if you're in plumbing, if you're in technology of some kind, let's just take real estate, that you're in National Association of Realtors, that you're in Three Best, that you're in UpNest, that you're on Realtor.com, that you're featured in D Magazine directory for real estate brokers. Industry directories is where a bank is going to be looking to see if you are who you say you are. Because remember, the first thing they do is they're verifying your identity. Are you who you say you are? Second thing they're going to do is whether or not they can extend you credit based on your credit worthiness. The third thing they're going to be looking for is if you're approved, what capacity of lending are they going to allow? So first, are you who you say you are? We're looking for an approval. And then third, how much are you going to get? So as we work our way through this list, top left to bottom right, the more of those you get right, you get your approval. Great. Or I'm sorry, you verify your identity. Great. You get your approval. Great. Now they're looking at how much can they extend you. That's where you get into that bottom right, diversity of deposits and that type of thing. So let's get back over here. So once you're listed in those industry directories, they now know you are an active participant in your industry. That bodes well, makes you look good against the other participants in the marketplace. Clear mission and vision. Now, your product offering is different than your mission and vision. Your mission and vision is what grand offering in the marketplace are you trying to solve, right? What's the reason you're waking up every day? It's introducing 100 small businesses to $100,000 in capital. That's my goal at Overlap Capital. This is our grand gesture. Now, how we go about that is getting 10,000, 100,000 and $1 million worth of funding within a week because I can't get to 100 without setting up that clear product offering to get there. So my vision is a world where there's 100 small businesses that's got $100,000 in capital that we help them obtain. That's our mission in life. And if you have a grand mission, it's going to help become a stretch goal, and then you can start to build products that fit inside it. You can start to build goals inside it that achieve it. Banks are going to be looking for that as well. Is that clear language on your website? Is that clear language on the documentation and collateral material that you give them? Now you might say, no bank asked me for that. Well, don't think of it that way. Think about if you were to have provided it, would you have gotten more? Would you have gotten approved? Would you have gotten a faster approval instead of an unconditional approval? When we send you to our bankers and we add these missions and we add the clear product offering, they're able to push things through a little easier. They know what business you're in. And it's so easy to make sure these statements are available on those documents. EIN, we've talked about this before, industry clearly represented. Now, when you get an EIN, towards the end, they ask you what industry that you want to service. This comes up on the EIN document. You want to be clear about that and match that all the way down to who you are in the marketplace. Now, you don't want to say you're in logistics for your EIN. For the bank, you show real estate. For the industry, directories, you're in education because you've got some, coaching business. You want to start to stitch all of those together because remember, they're checking your identity as well. When they don't see a through line, a clear through line, they start to ding you a little bit. That's one ding. That's two dings. Now all of a sudden you're out of contention for proving your identity. Then you're out of contention of them getting you an approval. God forbid you get a low limit if you get that approval. So this is that through line. Now, EIN is about separation. You don't want to be giving your social security number for business operations. You want to start to peel away and get some separation and indemnification, right? Get you separate altogether. We don't want the business's liabilities to become our liabilities or vice versa. So that's what the EIN's for, to start to give a numbered IRS designation to your business. And that's not you. Business address is accurate. We want to make sure the business address that's on your EIN document, the CP 575, that is the same as what's on your your Secretary of State documents. If there's a through line, you start to look better to the banks. They also ask if you have a DBA on your EIN. That's also something to look forward to. And you can always change those things too. You only get one CP 575. That's when it's created, but you can always talk to the IRS via phone, by the way, or submit a form in the mail, your choice, and change your address and change your DBA or add a DBA, even change the name of the business. So once the EIN is created, don't think you can't make updates to it. A lot of times we get nervous about these forms because we think we don't know we can change them afterwards. So let's just get them submitted. Let's get in the systems be as true as we can along the way, and then get that eventual consistency, right? Make sure once we have updates that IRS knows about it. Being well banked. I want you to know your bankers. We've got several accounts with several banks, and we know someone at the bank in each one of those cases. Sometimes we reach out to them for banking purposes. Sometimes we send press releases when we have new events or things we want to be a part of. Why does this matter? I want banks to know I exist. And we've talked about this in several videos, but we want banks to take our business seriously. So we keep a relationship with them. So we know um, them and they know us. They know what type of revenue we have. They see what's coming through. Um, Really quick tip. If you make $100 and that $100 goes into, let's say, Chase, and they have bank proliferation, so sometimes they'll broadcast that you're well banked to other banks. So we like for all of our deposits to come in through Chase. Let's say we move $30 of that to Truist, and we move another $50 to PNC. So now all of a sudden we've got a relationship with those banks as well, off the same $100, right? So now let's say it's $1,000. Let's say it's $10,000 that comes through. So now all those banks start to get a relationship of working capital with us, and they all know about us. They know what's going through the banks now. So it's not just one bank that knows that we have a little bit of money. It's three banks that know we've got a little bit of money. That's valuable. Profit first. So this is a notion that you're going to pay yourself first, and there's going to be a bank account specifically dedicated to it. And then all the other accounts are for specific functions. Now I'm going to fudge this a little bit, but I like to think that they are a chart of accounts that you build your profit first on. See, if we get you a bunch of business credit cards, you're going to have bank accounts with those banks. You may as well, with those bank accounts, start to assign this one to marketing, this one to compensation, this one to general expenses, this one to tax, this one to general savings. You're going to have the accounts anyway once we get you all these cards. So let's start using them in a way that matters. This one has a higher rewards opportunity. So we're going to store money there. This was a money market account. So we're going to store money there for the whole year and get 4% on our dollars. So I like the profit first notion. I think it's a great way to look at things. It can get kind of complicated, but since our business is getting those business credit cards, we're going to end up with relationships anyway. So we want to use them effectively. Love the term co-opetition. I tell banks that you are in competition with these other banks, but I want you to cooperate with me. So when we raise capital through lending, we tell several banks for our clients, such and such is looking to raise $55,000. That doesn't have to be from you, bank number one. It could be that you've got $27,000 that you can extend that we are going to be approved for. But just know we're going to keep looking for the remaining 28. So we're going to be looking for that, and we're hoping to kind of piece that together. But we like to tell the banks what we're up to. Web presence. Let's make sure we've got a strong footprint on online. I like a domain. And this is a kind of a pro tip. Our website is overlap.capital. That's our website. I didn't want to get overlapcapital.com. It's kind of long. And, my first name is Adolphus. My last name is Nolan. So that's 13 characters. I didn't want to, overlap capital and then .com at the end. So we found the .capital TLD. We used it. Here's the deal, though. Chase Bank does not allow the .capital for Zelle. So anytime we're looking to move a little money, we've got to do ETFs, we got to do ACHs, we've got to do wires because there is no Zelling because they don't accept the .capital. So they're not updated enough to get that new set of TLDs that are out there, the blogs and the Googles and those types of things. They're not accepting those yet. And that might be the case across the board as well. So we were trying to get cute, get unique, but we paid a price on a few fronts because there's a few websites that don't allow the .capital just yet, even though it's a real legitimate domain name. We've definitely got a website. We use it frequently. We've got tons of resources on the overlap.capital website. We want you to have a website that's useful to your customers. We love WordPress. We like go high level, depending on the type of business that you're using. I mean, ClickFunnels is a very similar offering to go high level, but ClickFunnels requires a deeper commitment. It's a little bit more expensive. It's a little bit more complicated. Go high level kind of gets you in there and gets you off the ground pretty quick. So we like them. We love Shopify. We love Squarespace. I think we are starting to come around to Wix. They've had a really rough go at things over the years, so they're finally kind of smoothing out a little bit. But then there's the low to no code offerings, Adalo, um, um, Replit, right? That are out there to produce websites. So there's other options out there. But if you want an SEO friendly website, WordPress is top shelf. Now, if there are directories out there, and we've talked about a couple of them, we want to make sure we got our footprint there as well. Blogs and podcasts. Get out there, get out there, talk about the business. This is a web presence slide, it's not just a website. So who you are on the web needs to show up, and you need to show out. So unique physical address. Now the goal here is to make sure that whatever address you have, it's unique. Now, I'm going to keep no PO box on here. However, I am finding out, and let's keep this a secret. Like, let's not let the banks know about this, that post offices have addresses. So you don't have to have a PO box as as your actual address, as your postal code. You can actually use the physical address of the building, and your mail will still get routed, and you can use PO box as your attention and box number. That's an approach. So you can try it in your neighborhoods and see what you're looking like. We've found some success there. We just learned about this about 3 or 4 months ago, and it's been pretty solid so far. But the goal here is to have a physical address. What might happen is if you try to get Google My Business, which is the first stop that we make, sometimes if you're in a bucket of other similar addresses, like the PO Box example that we talked about, um, Google will say you can't have a Google My Business address because you don't have a unique address. Do you have a lease? And sometimes whoever you're renting from, that virtual box or that virtual address or wherever you're getting address from, if you have a lease, something that says that this is your unique address, sometimes that'll work to get you in Google My Business. And that's valuable because when people Google you, when the bank Googles you, you not only come up, but you come up as a Google place. That is invaluable to banks. Banks have people, they got to go to lunch, they got to get going, they got to pick up their kids. So sometimes they're wanting to get stuff done relatively quickly. And if you come up quick because you're a Google place, they're going to check that box and move on. A lot of times, once you get the Google place, make sure they can see your signage somewhere online, something on that site or in your Google Place designation that has your logo on it, has some signage on it. That is very valuable. And if there's a lobby, make sure you can get a picture of it for your business as well. Those things go a long way with the underwriters. And other than Google My Business, Yelp, Yahoo, Bing, they also have offerings. Defined business model. How you go about business lets the banks know what you're made of, what's your capacity to steer through complex markets, how are you going to navigate through whatever market conditions that you have. And if you know your numbers and you're able to talk about those with bankers, that'll increase your chances of getting not just approved, but for them to lobby on your behalf to get an application through. How will you get to your customers? So how will you market? How much does it cost you to acquire each customer? Your cost of goods sold. These things come up in conversations with lenders. I mean, if you deal with enough of them, it's going to come up. Now, it's not common to always come up, but again, we're going to build a business profile for you and send it to a banker. So we want a lot of these things in there, depending on the type of business that you're in. And once you join up and we link arms and we're gonna move forward together, I'll show you what our financial profiles look like that we send to the bankers, but it has these types of things in it. So bankers know this is a real business. This isn't just some ghost business posing as a business just so they can get credit extended. I want you to know the difference between top line and bottom line. Top line is everything that comes into the business that's gross, right? And then bottom line is your net profits and after margins and those types of things that we always talk about. Your bottom line. What's your bottom line? That's after all the trimming comes off the business. And then obviously EBITDA, which is your earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, um, and appreciation. That's the conversation where if you're getting ready to sell the business or there's some conversion that's happening, you want to, sell shares in the business or equity. Sometimes those come up as well. But I want you to know those numbers because they're going to come up during tax time. Now, not necessarily to get a loan, but your business model, I'm sorry, not get a loan, but definitely for getting a loan, but just for getting business credit cards, it might not come up. But in terms of defining your business model, it'll be important to understand kind of what those arcs look like. Now, before we talked about listed on industry directories, that's specific to your industry. This is talking about just general business directories. If you're on Instagram, you have a business designation. You're on Fanbase, TikTok, Facebook, that you have a business designation. I want you on 411. I want you on Angie's List. I want you to go and get a free profile with the Better Business Bureau. Free profile at Trustpilot. Get those things. Add the addresses. Again, this corroborates who you are. Banks like to see that through line. Now they see a general idea of your business. If they think your customers can't locate you, they're gonna kind of struggle with whether or not you're gonna be able to take care of servicing their debt. You have to be findable to be fundable. Social media presence. This is a quick one. They care. If you're looking for a job, they look at social media. If you're looking for credit, they look at social media. Don't think they don't. Um, I like the idea of having an account everywhere and not being active everywhere. That's tough sometimes. But if you have an account, just make sure the first page is full of who you are, first 9 posts, no matter where you're located. But be active on one, take full advantage of one, and then list that. Make sure people know, where to find you on those socials. The banks will look. They want to see that you exist on Facebook or TikTok. Again, it depends on the type of business that you're in, but they're going to be looking. In your bios, be clear about what you do, be consistent. Name it consistently. Get one handle across the board if you can. It is worth it to have one handle because as you start to list those things out, if you've got 3, 4, 5 handles, that's going to be hard for your customers, and it'll certainly be hard for banks to kind of sift through as well and to find you. We don't want to give them any reason to think that customers can't find you. Have a logo. We're going to talk about that in a second. Get that on your social media. Get it updated. Keep it sharp. Keep it crisp because that's going to be on your financial profile. That's going to be on your website. You want to be visually appealing, and the way you do that is to be consistent. I put here mind your settings because if you go into each one of these tools and care about your business, if you go into each one of these tools, you will notice demographics that are defaulted, that are general. When you can kind of narrow down those demographics, you can narrow down the keywords that you're found under. You can change your profile to be exactly in the industry that you're in instead of being too general. So now all of a sudden customers can find you. And as we found out before, banks can find you as well. You want to be findable, so be fundable. Vanity toll-free numbers. I like these for unique business phones. There's nothing that says I'm a professional and I'm staking my claim and I want customers to find me than to have a a toll-free number. One of our businesses has 1-855 better one, right? One of the businesses that we work with, because their name is Better Report. Those vanity numbers go a long way for marketing material and whatnot. So there's also 411. That is a business directory. We want to be able to find you there. Banks look there immediately. In fact, I think the tool that they use to verify businesses looks in 411 to kind of cross-reference what you've listed as well. A lot of times when you get a toll-free number, you don't know it, but you can click a box, pay an extra $5 a month, and make sure that that 1-800 number you can text from it and to it. That's pretty valuable as well. Maybe not for banks, but your customers will appreciate it. And that way you can run special promotions. And if you do have Go High Level, you can start to point them um, towards promotions that flow through SMS that come through your toll-free number. And that looks pretty good. Acquired business credit ratings. Now, it may seem redundant. What this means is you need to be on directories that are going to promote and collect and promote business credit ratings on you. Dun& Bradstreet, been around 100 years. They are going to find out everything that they can about your business, its financial transactions, and they're going to make it available to the highest bidder. Now, this isn't your identity going out the window. This is essentially like your personal credit report, but for your business. They tell people information. Here's their latest address. Here's who they bank with that we know about. Here's the liens that we know about. Here are the bankruptcies that we know about. Now, I'm crossing the track between personal and business here, but that's what these credit reporting agencies are doing. They're keeping information about the business primarily and anything else tangentially that they know about the business. Dun& Bradstreet's been at it the longest, and we like them on this list because you can log in there and change things. You can build a Dun & Bradstreet account relatively easily. Your approval can take 48 hours. I know they say it can be a month, but I've never seen that. It's usually 3 or 4 days for me, but mostly less. The Small Business Financial Exchange. I've not had success logging in there and making any changes, but it's relatively easy to go there and see what that credit reporting agency has on your business. Experian Business and Equifax Business are the very same manifestation on the business side as they are on the personal. So it's not the same information, but they collect it, they make it available to whoever has the money to buy that credit report. And it'll be good for you to know what's on those reports by going to nav.com, paying a paltry $30 a month, and not paltry. Why would I say that? I mean, it's real money. But you're going to have to pay a fee on nav.com to find all of this information. Nav.com will make available for free whether or not you have any information. They'll give you a high level score, but you pay for the report. Credit Suite, you pay through the nose for a report. And they're going to give you multiple reports, like all of them on here, whereas nav.com gives you only a little. And then eCredible also has credit reports available. And later on, we're going to talk about how they can help you with your business credit score as well. PayNet and PayDex. PayDex score is scores that come in from store accounts. They matter for points taken off. They don't give you points. And what that means is if you have a bad PayDex score, less than 80, it will kick you out of the running. But if you have a good one, it might just be a checkbox while they look for other things. So if you score poorly on PayDex, it will get you bumped out and you probably won't get approved. Because banks, ultimately what they're looking for is whether or not you pay another bank for a cash product and how well you serviced it. And Paydex is going to look at everything like credit accounts, maybe in-store credit accounts. This is a very cheap tool for businesses to report your credit worthiness. So that's why it has like the lowest run. PayNet is another business credit reporting service that's out there. Get a business email address. I don't want to see at gmail.com on any business that I do business with. Banks frown on that. I have seen people get through and get approved with Gmail addresses, but I've seen way more people get approved that have their domain and their email address attached to that domain. I think Google Workspace is the best in the business at managing this because for $12 a month, not only do you get an email address, that you can have multiple aliases for. And, if we hang out together and talk, I'll show you a secret there that I've done before, where you pay for one address and you get a bunch of aliases, and then you go in the settings in email and then forward to each one of those email accounts as they come in. And that way you're not buying five, six email accounts for your team, especially if they don't need them or have to have them. But you can set up info at webmaster at hello at sales at privacy at, right? You can set all of those aliases up. And you can also set up John Doe at. And when email comes in from John Doe to your inbox, you can have it bypass the inbox and go to johndoe@gmail.com. So if you got someone on your team that's a contractor or something like that, and they don't need an account that you pay money for every month, you can just do some forwards there. I love setting businesses up to do things like that. Not so much to skirt, the system or anything like that, but I like getting full use of the system, but it's impractical to pay for all those addresses. Earlier, I was talking about Google Workspace. So not only do you get an email, you get Google Drive, you get access to Google Sheets, you get access to Google Docs, Google Slides. Um, you get a app developer account relatively easily. Now it's attached to a real business. It gives some notoriety, to the process. Google Drive is valuable. And then you can also process signatures on documents as well. You can set up signatures. And that's all for $12 a month per account. They've got a great service. You don't get that anywhere else, period. Yes, you need a logo. I need to just bounce past this slide. Get a logo, spend the money, $50 on Fiverr, $30. You name your price. Yes, you get what you pay for. Yes, you can go onto ChatGPT and get a logo. I would suggest you tell it, not line art, and make sure that you add in language that says, make sure this is a seldom used logo style. You don't want it looking like everything else. I can tell an AI logo from a mile away. They don't look good. Use one color if you can. They look better on shirts. They're easier to print on business cards. They look better on letterhead. If you get a little bit of, weight up under you over 2 or 3 years, maybe five, you can start to shift the logo and do some more interesting things. But out of the gate, one color, your favorite brand, you name it, has a single color for the most part. Church's Chicken's got a couple, but Apple, Nike, Google, those can all be done in a single color, and they've done it well in that regard. That goes at the top of your financial profile. So the banks are going to want to see that consistency. Again, that's how they know you're in business. Operating agreement. Now, banks will ask for this because sometimes they ask for banking resolutions. So let's say one of your business partners has a better credit score than you, and you want to get lending using their credit report, but you need a banking resolution. You can put that in your operating agreement to show that you're a part of the business. You own it, but there's someone else getting that's acting as a fiduciary that can get extended credit and they're a signer on the account. You can put those things in the operating agreement. You want your name, your address in the operating agreement. You want all your signers, all the participating members, all of those things can be changed in real time. The state doesn't have to know about anything in these bylaws or this operating agreement. The state doesn't have to be involved at all. You don't have to tell anyone else what's in your bylaws or your operating agreement. That is for you until subpoenaed to make updates to. Just make sure there's a traceability matrix. I like Google Docs for your operating agreement because every time there's a change made, it's documented and by who. That's pretty valuable. So if you come under any legal scrutiny, obviously consult an attorney. But what's in that operating agreement will be of great help. And since we're talking about lending, I'll stick to that. Banks want to see that you've taken great care to make sure all the participating members are who they say they are. Your address is what it's supposed to be. Now, banks want to see visual merchant partnerships. And what that means is they want to know that you can collect money easily. A Stripe logo, a PayPal logo on the website, a cart, a shopping cart on the website. They want to see that you can collect money. That's one of the main things that they're looking for to make sure that you know what you're doing. Now, if everywhere they go, you're not collecting money anywhere, there's no cart, there's no way to collect money, they're going to think you just give money away, that you're going to give their money away. That's how you get a no. That's how you get declined. But if everywhere they go, you're trying to get money from customers, they like that. They know you're going to be able to service that debt. Don't be shy about your vendors. If you have a partnership with anyone, ShipStation, Squarespace, um, Wix Commerce, Salesforce Commerce. If you've got any of those integrations that you care to mention, put them on the website. If they help you transact, put them on the website. Again, it's another thing that help banks take you a little more seriously. Now, remember, we've worked our way down to the lower right section now. So now we're in the extra credit territory. So when you don't have these things, it doesn't kill you, but it doesn't help you either. Acquired revolving business credit. This is the mecca. If you can demonstrate that someone has given you cash, just gave you money, not a credit card, right? Where you get a $30,000 revolving limit and you pay on it, you pay down, you pay on it, you pay down, or you utilize it, you pay down. That's not just handing you cash. There's less risk there for banks. When you've acquired revolving credit, this is them saying that they want to extend to you all of the capital that you're looking for, and they know you're going to pay it off over and over and over again. This is the holy grail. This is extending you capital. The 524 rule exists with Chase. Um, they want to see less than 5 inquiries across the board over the last 24 months before they extend revolving credit. And again, with it being the holy grail, this is what you want. Like, this is the ultimate product. Bank of America and Ramp have a secure business credit card option where you can use the money that you have or the revenues that you have, your bank account statements, and cash to create a business credit card, and they will report to credit bureaus. Brex is a little bit higher tier. They want to see $100,000 sitting in an account, but they will extend credit up to about 30% of what you have available or what you've transacted over a year. Let's get some business cards. Um, I have small square cards. They're around here somewhere. Um, if we've shaken hands, I've given you one before. They're small, square. They look like apps, on your phone. And the reason I like that is because I was in the digital space. I work with digital companies, work with startups, and it just, it feels good. But it's a great look. They've got gloss, they've got matted, they've got all the colors. You can even color the edges of the cards if you like to. Great stock. It's a great way to stand out in a crowd. And oh my God, handing them to someone at Truist Bank really lights a fire. Let's say you don't have physical cards. Dot Card is an awesome offering. This peer-to-peer device is where you're up close with someone and you can just pass over your information. Let's see if this is going to make me look weird or not. Let's see if this works. Yeah, there it is. So it pops up and you can go to a website that has all my information on it. That's a big deal at conferences and when you're bumping into people on the street when you don't have your cards, but always have a way to get people information on who you are. Peer to peer actually is more you taking your iPhone and putting it to another iPhone. I think the same is true with Google. But banks love to see that you've got that collateral out there. DBAs are important, not for the typical reason of getting some holding company and then having a DBA for every type of business that you want to do. I would advise strongly against that. I have a DBA with Overlap Capital because my legal name is Overlap Capital LLC. I don't want to put that on my cards. I don't want to put that on the Amex. I don't want to put that on anything. I just want to put Overlap Capital on there. That's it. That's all I want to see. I don't want to see Overlap Capital LLC. I don't want to see that on the logo. I don't want to see it all over the website. Now it's in the footer, but I don't want that on all my collateral. And you'd be surprised how much trouble you can get into just taking the LLC off and not having a DBA. It could be seen as misrepresenting the true name or nature of the business. So get an official DBA, get the shortened version on your cards and T-shirts and logos and whatnot. Make sure they're part of your bank, you know, that they have banking records with you having a DBA. I would not use a DBA for every business type that you have. I think for every entity that you have, you get a DBA, but I don't think you get one for every other business. You consult your attorney about why. I'm not really supposed to lean in too much on that, but don't play that game. If you got another business with another P&L, you get yourself another business entity. Um, I like it for collateral as well. I want to have that short, concise name, and certainly for the website. Although now there's .llcs, TLDs out there, so there's domains that you can get that are .llc or .inc. So those are available now as well, ironically. Let's get clear on what the use of funds are. You don't have to go with working capital all the time. Make sure you know that there's a wide variety of uses of funds. When you're talking to banks and you give bankers everything that they need to lobby on your behalf to push a loan through, let's get as specific as possible. Let's say we want to pay taxes. Let's say we've got a marketing budget that we're trying to get off the ground. I had several clients early 24 or 25 that were all looking to double down on marketing. And I put marketing as their use of funds so many times. We collaborated and came up with, their need was marketing and expansion. Um, and sometimes it was onboarding new staff. There was a logistics company that I worked with. So we were very specific. We didn't just say working capital every time. We got specific. And again, that lets underwriters know that we're truly in business. We're not just making a lot of this stuff up. Diversity of deposits is important because banks are going to be looking for where your money comes in, how frequently it comes in, from whom, and how often it goes out. We gave a scenario earlier where $100 comes in and then $30 went to one account for marketing and a little bit went out for tax. That's easily explainable. If there's an ETF every month that goes out, or an EFT that goes out every month that's specific and served a specific purpose, you look responsible. That's actually a very good thing. But if money comes in from one person or one source, a bank could look at you as a risk because if that one source is yanked, now you don't have a way to cover things. It's more valuable for you to get five separate deposits of $2,000 than it is for you to get one deposit of $10,000. You look like more of a risk if you have one customer where all of your business is coming through, and they want to see how often those are coming through. That gets asked a lot. In fact, I see them looking for um, insufficient funds. I see them looking for transfers to like distributions that go directly to the owner of the business. They look for those things when they're looking to service loans and extend capital. Underwriters are actually paying attention to that. So I want you to as well. Um, if you add money to the account on a regular basis, that does not look good. We want to see that it's coming from revenue. We want to see it's coming from customers and that there's no chargebacks, right? The customer's regularly looking for refunds or disputing the charges in some way. They're going to look for that as well. But diversity of deposits overall is just an examination of those statements. Acquired installment credit. And like we talked about before, there's two types of credit. There's installment credit where you're paying terms against a time period. And then there's also revolving where there's a fluctuation of the balance at any given time. If you need to run out and get installment credit, these are three options that are really easy to get into, and they will report to the credit bureaus. Even a lower rung, even if you need $50,000 and they can only give you five, this gets you on the rolls for comparative credit. Right now, you've serviced a $5,000 loan. You've now serviced a $2,000 loan. So it would stand to reason that you'd now ask for a $25,000 loan or $50,000 loan. A lot of people don't want to be the first to give you that large sum if your time in business is too low. We talk a lot about special purpose vehicles. We're kind of done with the 25 uh, items that are on the checklist. I think we got the business funding strategy checklist looked at. But sometimes you want to raise capital for a very specific reason. LPs do this a lot, or GPs and LPs, where you go out and you want to raise funds for a very specific purpose. This isn't some ghost business, but this is you creating a special purpose vehicle for the purpose of raising capital. I want to make sure you're armed with that language. It's not just you going out and getting a ghost business to raise capital. You're creating a debt vehicle. So I want you to learn that language, be able to talk about it because a special purpose vehicle is an equity term and it's a banking term. So sometimes even if you don't have all of these things together and you have another business and you want to create this business just for the purpose of extending capital, fresh LP or a fresh LLC, banks will sometimes accept that as well. So you don't have to have it be where that LLC that's transacted, that has all the time in business, you can create something special and new for a capital raise and just make sure they know that you're behind it, right? You got all this great revenue, all these years in business, but you want to have some separation because you got investors involved. It's a new business. You want to de-risk it a little bit for them. So this is some special language to do a little research on. And we talk about these all the time with our customers. So feel free to reach out if you want to talk this one through. I obviously offer funding. My team, the few people that have been working on these things with me for the past couple of years, we are excited when we get these funding assessments in. So you go to this website, hit this um, QR code. We get those funding assessments in and we go to work. We try to pair you and pre-qualify you for what you can get. We send you an email. We schedule a conversation with you, and we talk about what you can get. Maybe it's business credit cards. Maybe it's a line of credit. Maybe it's a loan. But once you get this filled out, this assessment, it's going to give us an idea of time in business, how much you're looking to raise, uh, what your revenues look like, your gross monthly revenues, what your credit card sales look like, whether or not you've got equipment out there, whether or not you've got like equipment leases out there, whether or not you owe any balances anywhere, whether or not you have, and this is my favorite, you've got POs out there or invoices out there. We ask those questions during the assessment because we might be able to get you lending of up to 70% loan to value on invoices that you have. If you got a contract for work that you've already done and they need to pay you, and it's terms, right? It's 45 days out that they're going to pay. We might be able to get you a loan against the value of that invoice. So we ask those questions not to be nosy, but we're trying to put you in the best product to get you across the finish line. So fill this format if you're looking for funding, or if you're just curious to know what our process is. It's a pretty involved form. It takes about 5 minutes for people that know their numbers, maybe 10 if you don't. But I think it's a good tool to get an idea of who you are as a business and whether or not you're prepared for lending. That's it. This is a business funding strategy checklist. I think if you're on the way to that lower right corner of these, you're gonna get the right look by banks. You're gonna get your approvals, and you're gonna be able to secure maximum funding. So our goal today was to get through that checklist. I hope you know how easy it is to get in contact with us and how easy it is to do everything on this list to put you in a position to secure maximum funding. We'll talk to you soon. So thank you for your time today. I am Al Nolan, Principal Advisor here at Overlap Capital. Doing a little traveling for the last part of the year. We're doing some very special things with the SEC and getting us in position to do some capital raises. So we got some exciting stuff. So you'll see us in and out of hotels for a little bit, but this has been great. We give this presentation quite a bit across DFW and now some parts of New York. We're hoping to give it in your town soon. But again, Al Nolan, Principal Advisor here at Overlap Capital. Let's do some business.